This is March 15th.
You only have one wrap on these. There should be at least 3.
March 15th, 2020. Billy with his 1959 Gibson Black Beauty Les Paul. And this is today, yes, with all this going on. Just to verify the date here. Guitar is a little out of tune. Billy's going to put it in tune for us using my Bugera 22-watt tube amp.
Okay, that's it. Okay. I was in a band with the person I bought this guitar from a long time ago. His name was Ken Henry Plischke. He was a teenager, well, so was I. And he worked at a guitar store in Monterey Park called Johnny Thompson Music, and the place is still there. And what he did was he worked the counter, and he was 14 years old when he started his job. He repaired guitars. So a year or so later, we all started a band called the Lost Souls. And he was the lead guitar player, and he kept working there. And he accumulated guitars in his teenage years, and he was very accomplished in a teenager. And we got a lot of jobs, a lot of them because he was so good playing the guitar. This guitar, one thing I don't know is how he acquired it. I'm assuming that somebody brought it into Johnny Thompson to have it fixed because there was a crack in the neck. And they either sold it to him or he fixed it and bought it from him. I don't believe he bought it new because he wouldn't have developed the crack in the neck. He was very careful about his guitars. When we played in the band a few times, he had this guitar on stage. Then he complained later that it was too heavy for him. And also he has a 50, well he had, I'm afraid he died. He had a 58 Les Paul Sunburst, which is probably the most expensive guitar in the world. And he had the nicest 335 I have ever played. I don't know what he did to it to make it play so well, but it was an incredible guitar. And he usually had the Sunburst. And because this was too heavy, he said he would sell it to me. So way back then, I bought it, and I've had it ever since. He eventually went on to play for Blues Image and recorded the song Ride Captain Ride. After that, he played on 2 of Steppenwolf's albums. And if you read his bio, you can see that he did numerous other things. He was a constant guitar player until about a year or 2 before he died, which his death was rather mysterious. Anyway, we were all very good friends, and it was a lot of fun back then, and we were always playing. There was a dozen bands that played in Hollywood in about a dozen different places, so everybody was always playing. It was a lot of fun. And this guitar, I carried it with me all these years, and I have a Stratocaster, a 67 Stratocaster. I usually play it when I'm playing guitar, so this has been sitting around, and as much as I really don't want to get rid of it, I feel like it's probably better off in somebody's hands than it is in my hiding spot where I've had it hidden for a long time. So Frank will send you a bio about Kent that I got off the internet, and a picture of us playing on stage at the Hullabaloo in Hollywood, where we were in the Battle of the Bands. And we won the Battle of the Bands, probably thanks to Kent's guitar playing. And we got to play there for a week because we won the contest. And back then, the place was totally crowded always. I saw a lot of bands there. I saw Janis Joplin there. After that, because we won the Battle of the Bands, we always had jobs in Hollywood. And so until we broke up, I went to college and studied music. Kent went on to play for a group called Fat, a 3-piece group. And after that, he went on to play for Blues Image. And then Steppenwolf, and then he moved to Oregon and lived there for 20 years playing in bands in Portland. Well, he formed his own band. And unfortunately, he died mysteriously and had a large guitar collection that mysteriously some of them disappeared, and he just kind of left them behind. Very odd. But you can read about him on the internet. His name is Kent Henry Plischke, P-L-I-S-C-H-K-E, and that's where I bought my guitar.
What year was that?
I think I bought this in 1968. And we were playing before that, the Lost Souls. We were, you know, the Beatles were around. We were involved in all that. And I knew a lot of people back then. Neil Young gave me a ride home once. It was nice of him. I was hitchhiking at the corner of, I was recording at A&M Studios with another band after the Lost Souls band. And Lou Adler was producing us, and my car had broken down, and I lived in Topanga Canyon, and I was standing on the corner of Sunset and Highland with my thumb out, and a Bentley pulled up, and a woman leaned out the window and said, "Hey, don't you live in Topanga Canyon?" And I went, "Yeah." And she goes, "Come on, we'll give you a ride." I get in the car, it's a Bentley, and Neil Young is driving. And she had recognized me from being in the market and just assumed I lived there. And nice guy. And he pulls up to my house. I had a great house, and he went, "Hey, I almost bought this house." I told him I was glad he didn't. It was really nice house. Yeah. And there was other highlights that I had in Hollywood. I met Eric Clapton one night after a concert he had. He was very humble. Acted like nobody ever gave him a compliment before. Yeah, those were the fun days.
And then, so after you got this guitar, what other bands did you play with?
I joined a group called, I met a couple that wrote their own material, and their name was Bill and Andrea Powell, and they lived in the same little apartment unit I lived in Hollywood, and that's how I met them. She was a violin player and had played for the Tucson Symphony Orchestra. Bill, her husband, wrote songs and had a voice kind of similar to John Lennon, and she was very attractive. And then I played bass, and so we got together, the three of us in the apartments, and just started working on the material that he had written. Very good material. And then we got a drummer named Dwayne, who was the drummer on the song I Fought the Law and the Law Won. That drummer, and he became our drummer. Then when we were living in Topanga Canyon, at that house I was talking about, we invited Lou Adler to come over and spend the afternoon with us and have lunch and hear us in our living room, because the living room was huge, and it was a great living room. And we all had our equipment set up, so he came over for lunch one Saturday afternoon and listened to us and signed us right away. And we started playing the Troubadour in Hollywood, thanks to him, of course. And then we played the Anaheim Convention Center a couple of times with John Mayall and a group called Spirit. And then we started recording this album at A&M Studios. Moving really fast. And then Andrea, she was gorgeous. On stage, she got all the attention, and she got into the violin like a guitar player gets into playing his guitar. She had the speaker cabinets with the horns that spin around, and she had all these voice activators, and our songs were really quite good, and Dwayne was a great drummer. So we were kind of on our way real fast, and then she got pregnant, and she told Bill, her husband, "Well, I'm not bringing out my baby in this music business. I'm going back to Tucson. Are you coming with me?" And of course, what could he do? And they moved back to Tucson, where he became Tucson's best floor tile layer.
Oh my!
And they played music once in a while, not too much, but that all went downhill immediately as to where we were headed so fast. So then after that, I went to college and studied music.
Right on. Why don't you go ahead and put this in tune?
Well,
I have new strings on it. Might be a little out.
good.
How does that feel to be back in your hands again?
Oh, well, I kind of hate getting rid of it.
Yeah.
No. It's like I told Frank, if somebody doesn't take it, it's going to sit in its hiding spot for who knows how long, probably forever, because I wouldn't spend the trouble to try to do it, and I don't really want anybody coming over to my house to look at it.
Yeah. Well, it's a legacy that needs to be passed on, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody will get a lot. I mean, I used it a lot back in the days I played guitar. I'm a piano player today. I don't play the guitar as much unless I'm recording.
Got a couple of your favorite licks.
Oh, well, I need a pick for that.
Right over here.
Maybe not.
There we go. Bill mostly works on playing his Steinway in his living room these days.
Like I say,
mostly piano these days, right?
I'm a piano player. Right now I'm learning Duke Ellington's song called Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. It's a pretty popular song. Billie Holiday sang it, so that's how popular it was. But Oscar Peterson plays it, or played it. Keith Jarrett plays it. It's a great song. So I've been spending most of my time learning that song.
Right on.
My own way of doing it. Everybody does their own way of doing it. Because I'll probably play it the next time I'm at the resort.
Right on.